We welcome in now the BYU Director of Athletics, Tom Holmoe, our first
studio guest
in almost 14 months. Welcome, my friend.
And no mask.
And no mask.
Yeah.
Nice shirts.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, yeah, you got the memo. We got the memo, actually, yeah.
Hey, as you listen to those track and field honors and you think back on the last year of athletics, of course, football is the topic of conversation today. It was an outstanding year for Kalani Sitake and his guys. How would you sum up the whole year for BYU athletics?
Thrilling. It started with football, and that's the way I describe it. It was just a thrill, week to week, trying to get through all the things, seeing the wins, seeing the players start balling, seeing the coaches develop, strengthening the systems and everything, and then going into the next season where it was all combined into one season. That was thrilling. Just to see the student athletes be able to do what they do best, play and play well. Thrilling.
During the summer, we had a meeting and a conversation, and you said, listen, this team, I don't know when we're going to play, but they're going to be ready. They really were, and you cobbled together the schedule you could get together, and it ended up being one of the best seasons in BYU football history. In the preseason, hope always reigns, but how did you know that this team was going to be special? Because I sensed that you had a sense they were something different.
I asked the coaches. I spend a lot of time with our football coaches from this time right now until the start of the season. They're not with them. They go through spring ball. They make a lot of evaluations from spring ball. Then they do some work from last year's film. They put it together, and then they have anticipation. These guys are pros. They have a lot of experience. They know how to extrapolate, and they counted on a lot of players. What they were saying to me at this point last year was, if they all do what they're supposed to do, we're going to be really good. And they did exactly what they're supposed to do.
And it was kind of a three-year build because there were a lot of guys like Brady Christensen and Zach Wilson and others who played as freshmen. And when you have that, there are some growing pains. It was 7-6, 7-6, but there were some thrilling wins in there. Then you get to 2020, and you kind of see the result. And then BYU had 3 underclassmen drafted. I think that's important to the program that, hey, you don't necessarily have to stay 4 years. You can come here and go pro.
It's like one and done in basketball.
Right?
It really is. I think that the measure of a great program is you have good enough players that they can leave early. And so some people say, man, I'm so disappointed. I wish we would have had Zach for another year. No way. There's no way we're having Zach for another year, or Brady, or Dax. And so it's part of the growing pains. But one of the biggest things with last year is we had a lot of depth. And the question will be this year, can the players that we're counting on to fill in those gaps, are they going to come through like expected?
On the heels of one of the best BYU football seasons, really, in the last 25 years, and certainly the best in almost a decade of independence, now, as you were alluding to, the key is to try and keep it rolling. So what is sustainable from what BYU did last year in a strange pandemic year that you can use pushing forward when things normalize?
It's really development. So like you guys said, a couple years ago when Brady was a freshman, you saw promise and he developed. I think that you look across the country in the greatest teams, they have kids that fill in. Like, who's this guy that's taking over for, name the Heisman Trophy winner at whatever school, and you don't even know what his name is, and he wins the Heisman. That's what the great teams do. And here at BYU, we have to start doing that. Right now, you see the depth that's coming back. And then there's guys that you don't know their names yet. You guys would for sure. But most Cougar Nation won't know their names. And they're kind of waiting in the wings. And even though they might not play that much this year, it's critical that they develop this year for next year.
And it's fun when you know the names of a lot of guys and you add those guys. And that's the case with 2021, which is super exciting. Now, this feels like a group that the guys returning who were leaders can sustain some of that sort of energy, focus, leadership part. And it's exciting. Like, you look at the offensive side of the ball, Tom. I don't remember a season recently where we felt like, wait, hold on. The receivers got better after last year. You add Dallin Holker, you add Chase Roberts, and development. This is exciting. And then the O-line really feels like, hey, we can plug and play with these guys now that it's been a couple years in this system. So, and then you retain Aaron Roderick and Sitake. So this is exciting, especially on offense and defense.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's one big change from last year to this year, and that's the schedule is going to be
you don't have to tell me, Tom.
Quite a bit more difficult. So I think one of the things that our coaches are doing right now is they're not just, hey, here we go, let's do it again. It's more like, how do we tool with the players that are returning from last year with what they did? They just can't play at that same level. They can't. If we play at the same level as we did last year, we won't be near as good. Each one of those guys from last year that you're naming, they got to be better. They got to get better.
All right, now some big picture stuff. And you joked earlier on Twitter this week that you might be asked about this. Yes, have you heard? There's a recommendation for the college football playoff to go from 4 teams to 12. What we want to know is, how does BYU athletics change its stance or posture differently now that this is being revealed after what was a secretive 2-year plan from the College Football Playoff Executive Committee?
Right. You could tell from the things that they were saying that it was probably going to be able to happen before the end of their contract. Now I can say that and say, oh, how do you know that? Well, I didn't really know it. But I just think Bill Hancock, who's the executive director of CFP, he was coy and said, you know, there's a contract, and he would avoid it at all costs. I kind of thought, with the pressure that was coming from the media and just critics across the country, they had to do something before the end of the contract. And here it is. And I think they listened to people that are college football fans in the media, fan bases across the country, and I think they're doing the right thing.
So the question with the playoff is, obviously you want to put yourself in the best position to make it, but it depends where making the playoff sits in the priorities of BYU football. Autonomy seems to be one of, if not the priority of BYU. Being independent allowed you to play a season last year earlier, where if you were in a league, you would not have been able to. Obviously, the connection with ESPN, we joke, BYU's in the ESPN conference. That's awesome, right? So what are the factors that you'll look at in assessing whether joining a conference is the move you want to make in a couple of years?
Like you said, autonomy would be the goal. And like I've said for a number of years, the reason I want it is I want our players, not just our football players, I want all of our players in all of our sports, because we're good, to be able to play against the best players in the country each week. It's just it's the way it feels when you go to the NCAA championships in track and field in Eugene, and you see kids in BYU gear all over the track, and people are going, hey, you from BYU? I'm like, yeah, we're from BYU. You know, our kids are competing against the best. And if you can compete against the best on a regular basis, like our track team does, like our cross-country teams do, you can win. It's hard to not compete against them, get into a tournament, and all of a sudden win. So the long way of saying that is, we want to be competing. We want to be in a conference where we can play football against the best teams every year, every week.
So that's the goal, is to be in a conference at some point where you can play the best games? Power 5 certainly would be that, right?
Right.
Do you lessen a Power 5 potential invite if you join a group of 5 too early, given the TV contracts in 23, 24?
Yeah, I think all those are strategic. You really don't know. Right now, all those group of 5 conferences, all of them are saying, okay, is this just something where we get a better chance? If I was in one of those group of 5 conferences, I'd be thinking, how can we get stronger? Not just the P5 schools or the Autonomy 5. I think everybody should be thinking, how do we get stronger? That's what we're thinking. The answer to it is, we haven't sat around for the last couple of years going, let's just wait until something happens. We have some possibilities of veins that we can take, but it depends on which veins have do not pass, gate fence up.
Clogged arteries.
Here's a possibility. What's going to happen right now, guys, is there's a window of opportunity that's opening, and it's going to close. So while it's open, we'll make the best of the opportunities that are available to us, and we'll push it.
Okay, so let's discuss that window of opportunity. Is it driven by the college football playoff mostly? Is it driven by TV contracts ending? What's opening up that window?
Well, I think it has to do with the individual conferences and their TV contracts. So you have P5 schools or autonomy schools or conferences that they have individual. They're not all lined up in the same year. So if you're looking at what's this conference going to do and does BYU have a chance, you got to look at their dates and see what's going on. Because once they sign that contract and there's no movement, then you wind the clock back up and it starts over again. And there's a couple different conferences with different dates. You got to see what they want to do. They play their cards. You think I play my cards close to the vest? They play their cards very close to the vest. And you're not really sure exactly what they want to do. But you try to read between the lines. You try to see what they need in their conference. You kind of try to see what they're positioning. And don't think for a minute that these P5 schools aren't thinking, what's in it for us with 12? Because it's going to, look, the SEC is not going to get weaker. I would say they're going to get stronger. They might get 4 teams in for all we know. I know the people in that conference, and that's what they're going to be shooting for.
Yeah, certainly it's beneficial to them. That's interesting. Okay, every year we talk about this, so we got to bring it up and see if there's any update to this. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
What's the sitch?
Hey, let me tell you, there's been some really good discussions with Notre Dame. Years past, it has been crickets on the set. But I would say that there are good discussions. I think we're getting close to being able to put together a game that would benefit both of our schools.
Outstanding.
That's awesome.
Okay, let's finish with this. We're all wearing the Built for Life Nike polos with the BYU insignia. It's been unveiled during the State of the Program address. We got some details. How would you assess the new program and how it's going to impact BYU football and athletics overall?
I think it's going to be a big strength for our football program. We'll start with football. This is a program that's going to encompass all of our teams at some point in time. But we're going to initially roll it out with football. Football is the one that kind of came up with the idea, and they felt like we need to have experiences for our student athlete outside and away from the field, the weight room, even the classroom, that are in the community, in the businesses, in the companies across the valley and the state. We feel that the experiences that they can have in learning while they're at BYU will put them ahead of it. NIL, look at, no one can get up here and speak about NIL right now. They're waiting. We're all waiting. There's just too many questions until legislation comes out from the government or the NCAA miraculously comes out with something that people can agree with. It's not going to happen. And so we're just positioning ourselves to say, it's not about the money. I want our student athletes to be able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. They should be able to. I've been saying that for years. But not in place of that, but alongside of that, let's put our kids into a position where they can have success and they can have confidence as a student that they can place themselves in a position through mentorships, internships, working and knowing CEOs. There's a bunch of CEOs in the state of Utah that happen to be BYU fans. They want to help. They're on board. The Chamber of Commerce in Salt Lake City and here in Utah Valley and Silicon Slopes, they're involved. They're saying, hey, we want in. We want to put our arms around your kids. You put your arms around us. It's going to be successful. And so I just think it strengthens the program. It strengthens the individuals. Right now what we're doing is we're talking with individual players on our team. Some of them, you don't know their names. You won't even know their names. And we're working on their future right now before they become a household name. That's a beautiful thing.
Outstanding.
Paid more.
That's right. There's a good one you got, baby.
Tom, can't think of a better first guest to break our streak of no guests in studio in more than over a year. Thanks for hanging out with us on
Let's
Media
do it
Day.
again.
Absolutely.